Hello and welcome to Inside Leesburg, an inside look at everything inside the lakefront city. Families are a big part of our community. They also reflect the success of our children in school. With that in mind, our guests are here today to provide their unique insight into building stronger families. John Croyle and his son Brody are speaking at a special event called Empowering the Family tonight at Leesburg High School. Lakefront TV is proud to present this program for our viewers. It is a great opportunity as well to provide an introduction to John and Brody. Welcome, gentlemen, and to learn a little bit more about the message that they have. Thank you.
Appreciate you letting us be here.
Yeah. No problem. John, I'm going to start with you. Here in Florida, we might not be familiar with you. Could you provide us a little bit of insight into your college football career and a little bit about that?
About 40 years ago, I played for a guy named Brody at Alabama.
Never heard of him.
Well, down here, I know they know about him, that's for sure. But anyway, we lost one regular season game in 3 years, won the national championship, all that kind of good stuff. And the natural step would be to go to the pros. And of course, Brody got to do that, but I walked into Coach Bryant's office and I said, I want to get the money from pro ball and start a home for children. And he just looked at me and didn't even blink. And he just said, don't play pro ball unless you're willing to marry it. He said, go build that ranch you've been talking about. I walked out and never looked back. Wow. And so now, 40 years later, we've raised about 2,000 children. And I think we left this morning, we had 163 children calling the Big Oak Ranch their home right now. And we have, I think, 20 in college. And so this is what we do, and been doing it for 40 years.
Let me ask you a little bit about that, because obviously I mentioned that you have a unique insight into raising families and kids. Obviously, with that kind of pedigree, over 2,000 kids, that does definitely qualify you. But tell us a little bit about Big Oak Ranch. What is that foundation?
Well, we took the name from the Bible. It says in Isaiah 61:3, for they shall be called oaks of righteousness, the calling of the Lord, that he may be glorified. The way we look at it is, Brody and his sister and me and my wife, if we go and get a little child that's in a bad situation, and we bring them over here and tell them, you're not just some piece of driftwood. You have the chance to be a tremendous big oak tree, for example. And then the Lord's honored. And I wish I could tell you we bat 1,000, we don't. But we give them the chance. As a matter of fact, it says on the front gate, a Christian home for children needing a chance. And part of needing a chance means wanting one. And that's why we're kind of excited inside, not just for the chance to be with you, but for tonight, because there's going to be a lot of kids there and hopefully a lot of parents. And our first kid's 58. So we've been doing this forever.
Oh my gosh.
And our youngest one right now is 8 months. I'm sorry, 8 months. So we've covered the spectrum. And
wow.
We have a saying, a man with experience never at the mercy of a man with an argument. And you can argue with us all day long, but we got 2,000 professors who have taught us the facts that we're sharing now and trying to help, for example, rules about relationship equals rebellion. Everybody focus on the rules, everybody focus on the rebellion. Work on the relationship. Get that. Then the rules have to be less, the rebellion will automatically decrease. And that's just a simple little tool.
Now, the kids at Big Oak Ranch are not all just straight kids off the street. You're taking kids from challenge backgrounds, from different family backgrounds, and sometimes being taken from difficult situations with their parents and stuff. So you actually have experience also with children of all backgrounds and all types.
Without sounding arrogant, there's not a case of abuse we hadn't seen. And I don't say that with pride at all. Yeah. But that's kind of one of the neat things great about Brody and Reagan growing up at the ranch, and now they're in charge of it, is every time some kid tries to come in and pull some stunt, they've seen it. And they know the reasons for the rule why he pulled that stunt, so it works out.
We're responsible for half of them.
That's true. Brody, I want to ask, you followed a little bit in your father's footsteps, taking the sports, with sports. Could you tell us a little bit about your background?
I did, minus the whole play for Bear Bryant thing. But, I did go play at the University of Alabama, and, he always gets to say, well, I played for Bear Bryant, and we did all this and won national championships. Well, I get to say, well, you know what? I was recruited by Mike Dubose. I played for Dennis Franchione. I practiced for Mike Price, and I finished with Mike Shula.
Well, there you
go. I kind of had the opposite end of the spectrum. But you know what? I was blessed to be there, blessed to have the opportunity. It was a lifelong dream of mine to go play there. He played there. My sister was homecoming queen there, played basketball there. My brother-in-law played there. So it was just a dream of mine to grow up and to have that opportunity.
Now you went on to professional.
And then after college, we went and got to play 5 years for the Kansas City Chiefs. And, I always tell people, when you're 11 years old and you go into your parents' room and you say, hey, I got an idea. I got this new dream. I want to play in the NFL. most parents are going to say, why don't we focus on making the JV football team first, and then we'll kind of make our way there. And their answer was, awesome, let's go for it. You know what? If you shoot for the moon, worst case scenarios, you end up in the stars. And just to have that support and to have somebody want to dream with you and want to help you reach it and help you get to your goal. You know, I think that that's been influential in both my sister and mine and the 2,000 children that have called Big Oak Ranch their home.
Now, I mentioned you and your sister, you're kind of getting in and taking the reins with Big Oak Ranch. Could you tell me a little bit about what that's like? What's your thoughts about kind of taking on the role that your father started?
Well, you know what? We've been at the ranch since we were 1 day old. We went straight from the hospital to Big Oak Ranch, the same with my sister. That was our home. That still is our home to this day. I live on Big Oak Ranch property on at the Boys Ranch. And it's just something that I always say the best way to learn is to watch. And we got to watch two of the most selfless people that I know live it every single day. And as a child, that burns an imprint on you, that your dad sacrificed the opportunity to go play professional football, to go start this home for children, and give 2,000 children a chance at life that they might not have had before. And you know, he raised me to be my own man. He raised me to go out and do my own things, and I went and got to play in this dream of the NFL, and then came back and got into business of my own. And make a long story short, everything was going the way that we thought we wanted it to go. And I just had one night, this guy said, "What are you waiting on? You've chased and caught every dream that you thought that you wanted in life that would bring you peace and bring you happiness and bring you contentment, and there is none. Now when are you going to wake up and understand that I've called you to go take care of children for the next 40 years, just like your family has for the past 40. And just to speak about his faithfulness and my wife's patience. Notice I say that. Yes. We had just put our little boy down to go to sleep, and we came downstairs for dinner. And after 2 months of praying, I said, "Kelly, I really feel that God's calling us back to the ranch." And she just broke down crying. And she said, "I've been waiting on you to say that for 5 years." She said, "Me and your dad have spent countless hours in prayer, countless hours in conversation, but we knew it had to be on God's time. We knew it had to be on your time. Tell me when, and I'll have us packed." And that was going on 2 years ago now. So we are back, and we are there, and we get to take care of 163 kids every single day.
That's amazing. John, you've obviously had such a tremendous impact on so many lives. Why are children such a focus to you?
You know, everybody's broken. I mean, you, me, we all got these broken parts inside of us. We might have had something happen when we were 6 or 12 or 14, you know, whatever. And we have just been given a gift, and that's really what it boils down to. I was working at a little summer camp, and I met a little boy from the streets of Orleans whose mother was a prostitute, and he was the banker and the timekeeper, and he would literally, "Mama, the next one's here, I got the money." And I told the little boy, "Have you become a Christian?" He came back the following year and told me word for word what I taught him the summer before, and I realized, there's your gift. It's not, you know, it's not football or the business world. I'm not good enough or smart enough for either one of those. But you give me a 10-year-old, 12-year-old little boy or girl that's been beat up and hurt and destroyed and broken, God's given our family the gift to say, "Okay, come on, let's go. We're going to pick up the pieces. And you know what? You're still going to have the pieces. But let's start new, and let's give you a new shot." And just last week, we brought in 10 children from one family. And we've already seen the 16-year-old who was a man at 16, one of the biggest men I've ever met, 6 years old. Yeah. So age and chronological, you know, experience does not make you a man.
That's tremendous. Now, you've shared your experiences through several books, and you've obviously kind of helped provide guidance on raising a boy, raising a girl. Your next book that you have coming out is Who You Are. That's coming out next year. Can you tell us a little bit about what that focus may be like?
Let's use this illustration. Every one of us have been to the mall, and here's this big, huge, all these stores and everything. There's that little arrow that's pointing, you're right here. Mm-hmm. And so in the scheme of life, there's where we are. And what happens is people don't know where center is. I mean, you know, there's wandering, like he was talking about, trying to find it in NFL, trying to find it in business. There's people watching us right now. They got lots of money. Their family is in disarray. They haven't talked to their children in 2 years, or the marriage is just in existence. They're roommates. There's no bond. And we're trying to simply break the cycle. And so when we have a child at the ranch, and let's say when y'all come up to the ranch and do a live shot up there and we introduce our children.
I'll consider that an invitation.
You put down, it's on film.
Good deal.
So we'll talk to your production, you guys get the money for y'all to come up.
There you go.
But what we do is we'll have, you know, me and Brody be sitting there and this little boy named Chad runs up. Tell him who you are. We know the boy's name, but we want the boy to get experience, to look you right in the eye and say, how you doing? I'm Chad. Well, I'm 6. I've been here about a year, and this is my brother. And we got those 2 boys out of a horrific childhood of abuse their whole lives. And now Brody got to look them, and he just said, come here, boys. As long as me and my sister breathe, no one's ever going to hurt you like that again. That is a good day. That's a good
powerful.
day.
Brody, I want to ask you a little bit. Obviously, you have such a strong message and to share. You go out and do motivational speaking engagements with your father. What is that like to do those one-on-ones with large groups and presenting the message?
Well, it's a blessing, one, but it's also, I learned out very early that you better watch what you say because the big man's got the mic after you. So you might not want to get on him too much there at the start.
Are you the opening act? I didn't know that.
That's exactly right. I'm the opening act, and he gets to. So any jab I throw, he gets to quickly come in behind me. But you know what? I've heard him say since I was a child. You know what? If we go out and we just tell a story, and we get to help someone in the audience, then it was a good day. You know, you can go out and you can say you have this big motivational message, but if you go out there and you can help one person be a better dad, you can help one mother come home earlier, if you can help one child that's going through something that is not their calling or their doing, but they're just from a tough situation and now they know how to handle that situation, we did our job. And that's what I've seen him do for 31 years worth of living. And it's an honor that I now get to do it beside him.
Now, your experience through the Big Oak Ranch obviously gives you the pedigree for being able to provide true help to children and families and providing some insight to that. But because the both of you have a football background, do you feel that sports or football has had an influence in the way you kind of think about organizing the family and such like that?
Absolutely. You know, I helped coach football this past year, and which that's a completely different story in its own right. But you know what? I told him, I said, man, this is the greatest sport that there is because it is the one sport that prepares you for life. You have to learn how to handle other people. You have to learn how to handle other situations, other personalities, and you have to learn to do your job. Because if you do your job, the guy next to you will see that you're doing yours and he'll handle his. And for an offensive or defensive group to work, all 11 people have to do their job. So you have to learn trust, you have to learn accountability, you have to learn that, you know what, it's not just about showing up. I have to do my job off the field as well. And I think growing up, they both kind of fed each other because I've heard him say before, you know, I think that me being able to handle different personalities and different ways people handle things was it's great growing up at the ranch because every single child's different, every single story's different. Mm-hmm. How they respond to getting on to them versus a simple, come on man, we can do better. Yeah. It is, they go hand in hand, and football is a great tool for that.
John, I wanted to ask a little bit, in learning a little bit more about you, I'd heard you mention on a few occasions about having basic rules for kids that come in and establishing simple guidelines for instituting love and respect with kids and providing a purpose to them. What is that like for kids that have come from such difficult backgrounds, literally tragic stories that these children come from? And could you tell me about doing that and helping to guide these kids to give them purpose?
For 40 years, I've made the same 4 promises to every child. Now he gets to do that. And just being a just obnoxious dad, sitting back in the corner watching him look at some little boy that's been just destroyed, or some little girl that trusts no one, and justifiably so. And he just looks at her and he makes the 4 promises that we have guaranteed. I love you, I will never lie to you, stick with you till you're grown, and there's boundaries, don't cross them. And for every parent watching this right now, if you give your child emotional support, truth, security, and discipline, you'll raise a thoroughbred. You will not raise a mule-headed fool. You will raise a thoroughbred, because you've got those four legs, if you will, to making your son and daughter, you know, a solid individual. Mm-hmm. But what's missing is, you know, like I am old school, and it used to be either or. Either be home at midnight, or there's going to be a problem. And now, because starting with media, TV, depicting the father figure, the husband of the house figure, all that's gotten watered down so much now, it's changed to either quit speeding or you're going to get a ticket, maybe I can get you out of it. We've added maybe to child rearing. And that's what I like about watching him with his sons. There's no maybe. It's Sawyer, come here. Now, he may have to ask him 2 or 3 times, because Sawyer's got that typical 3-year-old focus, like, sure, I'll be with you in a minute, I'm on this. And let me clarify, we ain't got it going on, but we know what not to do, because we've hit every pothole. And that's one of the things that, you know, like right now, 54% of the kids 25 and under think marriage is obsolete. No, it's not. And then you want to add to that, there's estimates that 52% of the kids in America today are being raised by grandparents. Now, those numbers are staggering. So you look at it, 1 out of 2, wow, that's tough. So we're just trying to make one little dent in the big sea of abuse and everything, but the good news is we've been able to tell the story to many other organizations or startup organizations, and we've talked to, you know, hundreds of people that are just like I was 40 years ago. I just didn't have anybody to talk to. Yeah. So now they come in, they say, what was it like growing up? What was it like doing it? And we share the story, and we've guesstimates that, you know, we've got 42 out there that have come to us and then gone back to their city or state and are doing what we do. And our daughters love, she said, the big oak way. But as I mentioned, we didn't have anybody to go talk to. And 40 years of experience and doing it, and we don't take any federal or state money. Because number one, we don't want government money. And number two, without sounding really hokey, God's a real good development director. And so all of our bills are paid. We owe no man any money. And he's tighter than I am. I mean, I'm pretty tight, but he's worse. And that's what we want, is that how can we do this better? Yeah. And that's one of the things I like about it.
Now, I want to ask you, you got 2 seconds to think about this, but what do you think is actually the biggest challenge facing families today?
I can answer that easily. No, I got you. If you don't know your son or daughter's 5 best friends, you're too busy. Because next to you and your mate, those 5 friends are going to make your son or daughter the man or woman they're going to become. And that's what's missing now, is we don't keep up. And social media and the bullying and all the children that have gotten bullied on the internet because no one knew what was going on, and they regrettably, you know, committed suicide. Bullying's been around forever. I remember getting beat up. I mean, I know what it feels like, and now I learned to run fast, and it worked out a lot better. But today, you can't run. And the parents have got to, and I'm going to use the word step in, but they've got to earn that right. They can't just, I am your parent, I will now step in. You can't, you earn the right, and then what happens, you get invited in. And that's really how I see it. And there's parents watching this right now, and their family's in the toilet, their marriage is in the toilet, and they're even now down to praying, oh God, change my son, change my daughter. Quit asking God to change somebody else. Start with you. God, change me. Make me a better husband. Make me a better father. Make me a better man. You get that right, then there's that trickle-down effect. And that's what's so cool now. When we drive in, I always let him go in first on purpose, because I want the kids to go running to him and go running to our daughter, because I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going into another phase of what we're doing, because we need young, energetic. I'm old, and that energy.
He had to tell us that.
Yeah, right. Somebody looked at the photo.
couldn't tell.
Yeah, somebody looked in the photo the other day and said, "Is that you?" I said, "Airbrushing's wonderful." But we think that if parents would just, you ask for a solution, if a mom and dad will just sit down and say, where are we? Where have we been? But most importantly, where do we want to go? You get that, then you got a plan. Then you got to execute the plan, whatever it may be. Every ball game he went into, I think he said he had like 200 or 300 plays for every game, for every defense, for every situation. You can't always plan for every situation, but you can sure come up with a really good game plan, and that 5 or 10% of those circumstances beyond your control, you got to learn to deal with them, like he was just talking about. Think about it. He walks into a huddle with 10 multimillionaires, and here's this rookie telling 30, 32 what to do. Here, go get him and don't let him get loose. You know, but that's a confidence that's been built within him because of the way he's lived his life, the way he's growing up, right? His sister and his mom.
Yeah.
My wife's she's a horse. I mean, she's got it going on.
All right, we're not going to go there, but
I mean, I'm who I am, but they're the way they are because of my wife and their mama.
okay,
That's the way that works.
good one to climb out of that one. But hey, I appreciate it very much. You're absolutely right. Obviously, the wives are backbone of the family, and they really do. They do a lot. Brody, I want to transition a little bit here in our remaining amount of time. That in this area, in the Leesburg area, our local schools have been challenged with kind of sluggish grades. And we have had meetings with the community to try to bring the community together and try to tell parents, caregivers of these kids that it takes everybody's involvement and it takes a lot at home. Do you feel that what happens at home is a direct relation of the success or how kids perform in school?
Absolutely. You know, if you think about as far as hours where you are somewhere, you're at home twice as long as you're at school. And you have to carry that over to when you get home. You have to do, it's like, if we're going to relate it to football, like he was relating it to football, you go to practice, you watch the film, you go home. If you don't think about it again until you show back up the very next day, then you're not going to be anywhere ahead of where you were the day before, versus when you go home, you replay what it is you went over. You replay the plays in your head. You figure out how it is that you can do them better versus trying to figure it out on the fly. And it's the same with school. It's the same with your walk with Christ. It's the same with anything. If it's not on your mind and it's not something that you're constantly thinking about, then you're not going to progress. So absolutely, when you get home, you have to study. You have to put in the extra effort. But you know what? It's just like I said earlier. The best way to learn is to watch. And if you have parents that are pushing you towards that see you doing your job, as a parent, that's going to push them towards, you know what, they're helping me get to this point, so let me continue to push forward.
Well, what would you say? We hear it so many times with parents and caregivers that life is so busy, so many things going on that they just feel overwhelmed. You as a young parent and obviously being involved with the Big Oak Ranch, I mean, what would you say for someone who says it's just too much to be able to keep track of everything?
It's a good, easy excuse. It's a really easy excuse to say I'm too busy. It's a good, easy excuse to say, you know what, I just don't have time for that. God Almighty gave us the ultimate gift in children. It's our job to make time for them. It's our job to maneuver our day around, because at the end of the day, your job's your job, your business is your business, whatever it might be. But your ultimate obligation on this earth is to raise a godly man or to raise a godly woman that when they stand before God Almighty, they say, you know what, I got to watch my daddy live it. He's the godliest man that I ever knew. All this is important. Let's figure out what's really important.
John,
Can I interrupt you right there a second, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
We had a girl, 15 years old. She couldn't read. She couldn't write. And I'm sitting there looking at her, and I said, what do you want? After I went through the 4 prompts, she said, could I graduate my age group? I said, it's not up to me. It's up to you. She covered 8 grades in 4 years. And 2 years ago, she graduated from Auburn with a degree. Her first year, her job was with ESPN.
Wow.
Don't tell me you can't do it. You can do anything. And to be honest, I'm going to add to what he just said. You make time for what's important. And if your kids think they're a burden versus a blessing, then you've let them think that they're a burden instead of a blessing. Like I watched him today with his 8-month-old little boy. That little boy's 8 months old, but he already knows his daddy worships him and is going to make him into a good man. Doesn't mean that he's going to give him everything he wants. It doesn't mean he's never going to. Discipline's part of life, and that's what makes us the men and women we are. But there's some single folks watching us right now that's a single parent. World's full of great men and great women who had a mama or a daddy that said, you're my focus. I still got to go to work, but when I come in here at 4 o'clock, you're my focus. And like his wife told me just yesterday, she said, Brody will be here. The point being, she knew he was coming home and that she and his 2 boys were going to be his focus. He might have 4 boys out there that want to go horseback riding. He grabs his boy and said, let's go. And the 6 of them go riding.
Okay.
And you make time for what's important, always. And be honest, well, you just don't understand. We've raised 2,000 kids. We got the general idea.
That's actually one of my wife's rules. When you get home, you leave business in the truck. If you need to sit in that truck for an hour and finish your conversation, finish it. But when you get out, you're ours.
I see what's going on here. You both have very smart women behind you.
The measure of man's quality is how far above himself he marries.
Well, there you go.
We're both about as high quality as you can find.
That's right.
John, I know I'm going to open up a big thing here, but you got about 2 minutes here. Obviously, your message is ingrained with faith. Can you tell me a little bit about faith, not only just being a part of your message, but how it's helped shape your view of life? And again, 2 minutes.
Okay, good. Time out. I'm a sinner saved by grace, and so is he, and so are many of you. Nobody's got it all together. Nobody's got it going on. Nobody is the perfect man, husband, the perfect mom, wife. Nobody. And if you are the perfect person, then you don't need to be listening to me and Brody. But if you're like us and you've made a lot of mistakes, I want to give you the best verse in the Bible. It's in Isaiah 43:25, when God said, I, even I, am the one who wipes out your transgressions for my own sake. I will remember your sin no more. All we are is hope. It's just you can get better. You can be a better parent, a better person, a better partner with your husband or wife. But you got to choose. Choices create circumstances. Decisions determine your future. As I'm winding this down, don't leave God out of your journey. If you have him there, he's not some voodoo daddy up there saying, you're going to hell. That's not him. He says, I love you and I want to help you. And let him. We get all stubborn and stupid. If you'll just join us, I'm stubborn, he's stupid, or she's stupid. We've got that part down. But there comes that day you draw a line in the sand of your life and you say, enough. I've got to be what I'm supposed to be. And the thing about it, you already know the answer to that question. You know what you're supposed to be. Go be that person. The only way you can do it is having faith in God to change your life. And if you do that, I guarantee you, your life will never be the same. If not, you come see me and let's talk about it.
John, I appreciate it. Brody, thank you very much for showing. John,
Thank you.
I appreciate the time. If the take-home messages that I've seen from this interview is invest in your kids, invest in your time, and we do appreciate that. We appreciate the opportunity for Lake Pratt TV to be able to present your program tonight. We look forward to seeing you. Again, take some time, invest with your kids this week. If you haven't had a talk with them in a while, do so. Visit our folks here at www.bigoak.org. That's bigoak.org online, and we'll see you next time on Inside Leesburg.